Welcome to This Explainer. Look, today we're unpacking a concept from a fascinating piece of writing that's going to feel deeply personal and honestly, highly counterintuitive. I mean, we spend our entire lives striving for goals, pushing for that next milestone, and constantly trying to level up, right? We think we know exactly what's holding us back. But what if the source material we're looking at today proves that our fundamental assumption is just completely backward? Okay, let's dive into this.
What if you aren't afraid of failing? Just let that hang there for a second. We're conditioned from day one to believe that failure is the ultimate enemy, right? It's the monster under the bed for literally every ambitious person out there. When you procrastinate by suddenly deciding you absolutely must clean your entire kitchen instead of working, or when you hesitate and feel stuck, conventional wisdom tells you it's because you're terrified of falling short. But our source text challenges this entirely. It asks us to consider a totally different culprit.
And there it is. What if you are secretly afraid of succeeding? This is the core paradox derived right from the title of our source material. The hidden anxiety of achievement, why you're secretly afraid of succeeding. I know, it sounds totally absurd at first. Why on earth would anyone be afraid of getting exactly what they want? Well, the author actually highlights this striking example. A brilliant startup founder who spent 3 years obsessively building a product. But on the exact day the final life-changing funding round was supposed to close, they suddenly quote-unquote forgot to send the critical final signature, almost tanking the entire deal. As we break down this concept, you're going to see that this hidden fear is not only real, it's incredibly common, and it might be the exact invisible wall you've been hitting.
Section 1. The Success Paradox. Let's start by unpacking this massive contradiction of striving for a goal while simultaneously running away from it. This really brilliantly illustrates the divide we're dealing with. Look at the left side, the fear of failure. This is obvious. It's expected. Society gives us a million tools to deal with failing. Inspirational quotes, self-help books, a big tub of ice cream. It makes logical sense to fear it, so we talk about it openly. But look over on the right side. The fear of success is hidden. It operates completely in the shadows. We don't talk about it because, honestly, admitting you're terrified of actually winning feels ungrateful. It sounds arrogant. If you tell your friends you're super stressed about getting a huge promotion, you usually aren't going to get a ton of sympathy. But as the source text emphasizes with words like hidden and secretly, just because this fear is out of sight and isolated doesn't mean it isn't running the whole show.
Moving on to Section 2, Defining Achievement Anxiety. Let's really break down the exact wording the author uses here.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the deliberate pairing of two totally opposing concepts. Achievement is supposed to bring joy, right? Validation, relief. But in this definition, it's directly tethered to anxiety. It's a paradoxical state. When you actually get close to the finish line, your brain doesn't flood with that expected dopamine reward. Actually, scratch that. It floods with cortisol instead. The prospect of reaching the goal triggers deep distress. The author notes that, biologically speaking, our nervous systems can't always tell the difference between the stress of a major threat and the stress of a major breakthrough. It's all just high alert.
So, achievement equals anxiety? I really want you to reflect on this equation for a second. Why would getting exactly what you want cause you deep psychological distress? Think about your biggest goal right now. Got it? Okay, if I handed it to you today, fully realized, what else comes with it? Well, you get the heavy baggage of new responsibilities. The source text points out the crushing psychological weight that hits when expectations suddenly double. You might become the primary provider, the leader everyone looks to for answers, where suddenly you're a target for public criticism. The sudden realization that you now have something incredibly valuable to lose, that triggers immense imposter syndrome. Achievement and anxiety become intrinsically linked because success fundamentally disrupts your safe, familiar reality and replaces it with high-stakes vulnerability.
Section 3. Why the fear is hidden. So if this anxiety is so massively disruptive to our lives, why don't we notice it? Well, the author deliberately calls it a hidden anxiety because it is an absolute master of disguise, because it operates so deep in our subconscious, protecting us from that high-stakes vulnerability we just talked about. We rarely look in the mirror and say, wow, I'm sabotaging myself because I'm terrified of my own potential. We just don't do that. Instead, we confidently misdiagnose it. We tell ourselves we're just lazy. We say we simply have bad time management. We blame the economy, we blame bad luck or a lack of resources. But the source implies these are often just incredibly convenient, socially acceptable cover stories for the hidden anxiety of achievement.
Let's see how this builds into a totally predictable behavioral loop. This is the cycle of hidden fear in action. Step 1. You strive. You put in the work, you're highly motivated, and everything looks fantastic on the outside. Step 2. You start approaching actual success. The finish line is finally in sight. And boom, that is exactly when step 3 hits. The secret anxiety flares up, and your brain pulls the emergency brake card. You pick a massive fight with your most important collaborator. You suddenly decide you need to completely redesign your entire website literally right before launch. Or you just kind of lose interest entirely. You sabotage the success to protect yourself from the anxiety of the achievement, keeping your secret fear safely hidden, even from yourself.
Section 4. The secret fear of succeeding. Let's untangle the actual phrase the author uses to understand why this paradox makes complete logical sense. You see, the source text isn't talking about a fear of the trophy itself, it's talking about a deep fear of the morning after. First, there's the relentless pressure of maintaining success. Once you reach the top, the new baseline is perfection. You can't be the scrappy underdog anymore. You have to defend the title, which is utterly, absolutely exhausting. Second, there is a fundamental shift in your personal identity. If your whole personality, your whole life rhythm is built around the hustle and the grind, who are you when you finally make it? That identity loss is genuinely profoundly scary. And finally, there's the terrifying unknown of the after. When the chase is over, you have to face the quiet reality of your life. Succeeding carries a heavy, heavy burden.
So, the crucial point here is the author's specific use of the word your. The source text isn't presenting some abstract psychological theory for academics to debate in a vacuum. No, it acts as a diagnostic mirror pointed directly at you. It demands that we stop looking outward at external obstacles, the market, our bosses, our schedules, and start looking inward at our own secret avoidance tactics. It's an invitation to self-reflect and gently challenge yourself to own the fact that your ambition might just be at war with your comfort zone.
This brings us to Section 5, Rethinking Your Ambition. How do we resolve this paradox and rethink our approach to our own goals?
By staring right at those exact words. The ultimate key to unblocking your true potential isn't working harder or waking up earlier at 5 a.m. or finding some magical new productivity hack. It is simply validating this hidden fear. It's gently acknowledging that succeeding is scary and that your anxiety of achievement is a totally natural protective mechanism, not a personal failing. The author emphasizes that the moment you can name it, you can tame it. Once you pull a secret out of the hidden shadows and simply acknowledge it, it loses its power to sabotage you. You can finally pursue achievement, knowing that the anxiety accompanying it is just a passenger. It's not the driver anymore.
I want to leave you with this final thought. Just let it sit there for a moment. If you stripped away the fear of the new expectations, the fear of the identity shift, the hidden anxiety of what comes next, what would your life look like today? Understanding this source material gives you the clarity to finally answer that question. And more importantly, to finally go out and do it. Thank you for joining me for this explainer.